My name is Jack Myers, and we're here today talking about valve assemblies. And the valve assembly is one of the most important parts of your regulator. This controls your pressure, and these parts are wearable parts, so you will want to replace them occasionally, okay? We have several different types of valve seat material. We have a Buna, which is the softest material. You can see it's black. On the back of your seat, there should be a B that signifies that this is a Buna seat. Okay? The next hardest material is a poly red. You can see by that. And again, on the back, you will see a P. Polytan is the hardest material. Again, this information or this seat will have a P on the back. Polytan is the hardest material, and then the next material is your Viton. Viton is specifically for higher elevated heat. It is very heat resistant, and it is the best for that application. Now, all of these seats are dependent on your differential going across the seat. We have a chart that we are including in this video so that you can make your seat selection based on the differential pressure from your inlet to your outlet pressure, okay? Next, we're doing a 6-inch valve assembly, okay? Now, for the 6-inch regulator, for 4 1/4 valves, this will be the valve assembly that you will use most of the time, okay? We also have a 3-inch valve assembly and a 2-inch valve assembly, 2 1/8-inch valve assembly that can go into a 6-inch regulator. However, this is only going to cover the 4 1/4-inch valve. I will do separate videos for the 2 1/8 and 3-inch valve assemblies because they are slightly different and you're going to be using different parts, okay? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start off with the bottom half of this assembly. I'm just going to show you how to assemble this. The disassembly and assembly on these are a little bit easier because you have no nylon locking nuts on this regulator, okay? So this is going to be the bottom half of your assembly. Again, this part of the assembly travels through your spin stop and the bottom half of your guide. Make sure that you are not putting any markings on these. If you do, file those down a little bit. Make sure they're nice and smooth. We're going to just be using a regular vise here. We're going to snug this up. Once again, make sure you give your surface here a little bit of elevation so that you're getting a proper seat on your seat on the back side of your seat. So that just sits down in there. Again, your O-ring goes in like this, and your retainer. Okay. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to put on your locking nuts. Now, in this case, these just spin on quite easily. Now, I like to use what they call a Ford wrench. Okay. Also, you don't have any kind of marks on a jaw. These are smooth jawed wrenches. Also, you can find them on Amazon. They call them a monkey wrench. Okay. This is one of the nicer size wrenches you can have. We're just going to spin this on, and we're going to give that a nice snug, and we're going to have this snug down. Okay. Now these two nuts will lock your valve seat into place, and you shouldn't have any kind of problem with any kind of gap or separation. And make sure that that is nice and tight. I'm going to go just nice, snug that on. Make sure that they are together and they are good, okay? So that's your bottom half. Set that aside. Now we're going to go with the top. Top part has a hex on it for you to grab, since this is not going to be going into any kind of an area that it needs to travel through. Go ahead and put that in here. Tighten that down. And again, we're going to put on our seat. We're going to put on our O-ring, our retainer. We're going to put on our first nut. Again, this is not a lock nut. This is just your basic large nut for these. Going to crank that down a little bit. Use our monkey wrench. Give this a nice snug. Okay. And this is our stem extension, okay? So we're going to bring our stem extension down here to lock everything in. Make sure that you lock those two together nicely. Give it a good tug. And there's your valve assembly. Okay, now we're going to put on our compression ring here. Now this usually fits pretty snugly. Make sure you line up your cutouts, your slits here. We're going to put this on here. And we're going to make sure that this moves nicely along those threads so that you've got no resistance, so that when you're setting the valve assembly, you don't have any problems, okay? And again, once you have your valve assembly and your valves and your regulator set, make sure you torque this down very hard to prevent any kind of movement of your valves, because this is extremely important when you torque this down. So you're really going to have to put some torque on that. You can see I already did put some torque there, and it's still moving. So again, you are going to have to really put the He-Man to it. Okay? And that is your assembly for a 6-inch with 4 1/4 inch valves.